The capital of Athos is the small town of Caries, the seat of the governing body, an elected council of 20 representatives of each monastery. Its main cathedral, the 9th century church of Protaton, houses the oldest frescoes on Athos. Caries also has the only hotel on Mount Athos, 4 rooms. It is the peninsula's most populated area and yet resembles a silent medieval town. The Russian skeet or cloister of St. Andrew houses the Athonian Theological School. Mount Athos is a self-governed part of Greece, obedient to both church and state. Civil Governor Demetrius Krekoukias explains why it is unique.
We have 3 foreign monasteries which are inhabited by Serbian, Bulgarian, and Russian monks who, upon arriving on Athos, acquire the Greek citizenship according to the rules of the Constitution. The civil governor's part is dictated by the Constitution. He is here to represent the Greek government, and he is a high-ranking officer of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He makes sure that the articles of the Constitution are enforced, and he supervises the security forces which safeguard Athos.
The House of Pahomians, home of Fathers Pandelimon, Akakios, and the Brotherhood of the Pahomians. The monks of Mount Athos take obvious joy in their development and use of various arts and crafts. They dedicate the most mundane daily tasks to the further glory of God. Thus, work becomes an extension of prayer. Father Pandelimon, longtime former Secretary General of the Holy Community, is also an ordained priest. He first arrived on Athos in 1930 when he was 20 years old. 2 of his 8 brothers became monks, as did his father. He is a gifted painter of icons, which are shipped to Greek Orthodox churches throughout the world. Father Akakios is also an ordained priest. He came to Mount Athos in 1936. The tending of his own vegetable garden is a labor of love, for the rocky soil of northern Greece is a stubborn element from which to coax vegetation. But the faith which can move mountains, when mixed with hard labor, brings forth the fruits of the earth in abundance. The life of a monk is simple, and yet in many ways noble. He displays an innate respect for the God-given elements of nature. Although orthodoxy insists that faith must be rooted in dogma, natural beauty is an avenue for worship. Father Pandelimon hopes and prays for the preservation of monasticism. He says, "I hope more young men will join our ranks, for I sense a revival among youth of the monastic ideal." A half-century before Christ, a Persian fleet was sunk by a storm off Mount Athos. The disaster prompted King Xerxes to carve a canal here, through the neck of the peninsula. This allowed his armada to travel easily from one shore of Athos to the other, thus avoiding the danger of the angry ocean surrounding the peninsula's tip. A small road now marks the canal site, a few miles from the main road between the 2 coasts. The small vacation village of Uranoupolis is the embarkation point for the southern shore of Mount Athos. Tens of thousands of tourist cruise ships must come no closer than 500 yards, since they invariably carry women passengers. Unlike the north side, the sea here is calm. Uranoupolis is also the home of the Pyrgos Tower, typical of the ancient lookout towers which dot the peninsula, built to guard against invasions from the sea. The Holy Royal and Patriarchal Monastery of Xenophontos. All monasteries on Athos use the word royal in their title because they were founded by imperial orders of Byzantine emperors. Dochiariou Monastery, established in the 10th century by the monk Efthymios, who earlier served as Dochiaris, keeper of the stores in the monastery at Lavra. the 12th century Russian monastery of St. Panteleimon. A disastrous fire swept through the lower wing and it was never rebuilt. Fire is a constant threat to the ancient buildings of Mount Athos. The official port of Mount Athos is Daphne. Daphne is the Greek word for laurel, which covers the nearby hillside. Here, visitors undergo clearance by police and customs inspectors for the mandatory permit to visit the holy mountain. Non-Orthodox laymen are only allowed to stay overnight on Athos when they can prove religious or scientific reasons, and their total stay is limited to 4 days. The Port Authority is restricted to issuing only 10 permits each day. The only bus permitted on Mount Athos makes a bumpy daily run from Daphne to the capital, Karies. The trip takes 55 minutes at about 10 miles an hour, and the fare is 40 drachma, about 50 cents. Before the bus, a visit meant a 3-hour hike uphill on a primitive mountain trail. On the southwest side of the Athos Peninsula lies the monastery of Saint Dionysiou, founded in the 14th century by the monk whose name it bears. Built on solid rock some 300 feet above the sea, the monastery appears to be suspended in midair between earth and sky. Here at Dionysiou lives one of the few English-speaking monks on Mount Athos, a former restaurant owner from Decatur, Illinois, Father John.
I came here in 1963, and when I did come here, I was pretty weak. I was heart disease. I did not give to myself no more than 3 months of life. Coming up this walk to the monastery, I had to stop once or twice to rest and take a breath because I was so weak. Maybe God felt sorry for me, and he gave me more life. And now I'm able to go about and do just about as much as the next door neighbor, as my next door neighbor.